Indian parents disowning their children. An Indian woman finds herself in a highly stressful situation involving her traditional family and her innocent unborn baby. Will she be able to solve this tough situation? Find out in today's episode of Coach Ben's Case by Case. All right, let's go ahead and see what we have here. So she's 28 years old. Her boyfriend is 32. My strict Indian parents have threatened to disown me if I don't break up with my Christian white boyfriend and abort our child. So already this is a huge mess. This is already horrific. Let's go ahead and see why. I belong to a traditional Hindu Indian family and have been living in the US for 3 years now. I first met my boyfriend when he came to Goa, India on a backpacking trip. We connected instantly and became good friends. Sounds great. 3 years ago, I moved to the US for my job and reconnected with him. We have been together ever since. That's a pretty nice story right there. That's nice. They became friends, and she took the plunge. She went all the way over to the US, which maybe her family wasn't happy with. Let's go ahead and find out more, shall we? So far, it sounds good. Let's just find out all that mess about the family part. The initial plan was to finish my project in the US, come back to India, and get married to a guy chosen by my family. One of those arranged marriages, which I never approve of. But now I've fallen for my boyfriend. Nothing wrong with that. I love him. That's all that matters. And he loves me. That's all that matters. I've met his family, and they are wonderful. They have also been incredibly accepting of me in spite of my cultural background. Sounds good. They are devout Christians, and while they would like me to convert to Christianity, they have never told me so. Okay, when it comes to religion, I'm not religious at all. I just believe in love. If I were to pick any religion, I just call it love. Because it's all up to you. Nobody should encourage or force somebody to be any type of religion. Practice any religion. No, that's just wrong. So we're going to go ahead and see how strong religion plays a role here, or if it doesn't really play, because we already had a case that went over a religious case or religious differences. So I'm glad to see that there's no conflicts here between Christians and Hinduism. So, if she's Hindu, that's not a problem. So let's go ahead and proceed, shall we? Because so far, everything sounds great. The family gets along, the U.S. family. And she loves him, he loves her. Can't get any better than that. So let's go ahead and proceed, shall we? I lost my virginity to my boyfriend, and we soon started living together. My parents back home had no idea. I thought I would first introduce my boyfriend to my parents as a friend and make them like him. Well, you can't do that. You can't make anybody think somebody. It's just going to be what it is. As a person, I didn't want to shock them with the information that I was dating, let alone that I was dating, having sex, and living with a white guy. Okay, so race and religion have been mentioned, not by me, but by the woman writing this particular case. Nothing wrong with that because it has everything to do with what's going on as far as the main problem is. So losing your virginity before marriage, there's nothing wrong with that. I even did a stream about that a long time ago, earlier this year, about it's you got to know who you're getting in bed with, literally, for the long haul. But if your religion prevents you from doing so, to me, that's a negative. To you, that might be a positive. To each their own. But I highly recommend finding out if your partner is sexually pleasing, if you enjoy having sex with them before getting married, because once you tie the ring, the knot, once you put a ring on it, it's really hard to go back, and you don't want to get divorced over sexual incompatibility differences. You don't. That's a really bad situation, and it's something to be ashamed of. And unfortunately, these traditionalists, to each their own. However, my specific viewpoint, I don't agree with, well, that's inappropriate to have sex before marriage. I highly disagree with that. Because you have to know how your partner is sexually. Sexuality is a huge part, very important part of any long-term relationship. So with that said, she did mention that he is white. So that's going to be a problem, I suppose, because her family is traditional. They probably want her to have an arranged marriage with another Indian person. So let's go ahead and proceed, because that's how I pretty much see this case going, that direction. My boyfriend had been extremely patient and understanding about my personal situation. He wanted to marry me and start a family. Sounds like he's committed. He wanted to do things right. Well, that's subjective, isn't it? Unfortunately, things didn't go according to plan. I recently found out that I was pregnant. When I found out, I felt very happy. I told my boyfriend and he was ecstatic. Okay, that sounds great. Doesn't sound, I mean, it's, even if it's unplanned pregnancy, unplanned parenthood, that's okay. I mean, as long as you guys are both comfortable with that, you guys sound committed. You're in love, you guys want to get married? Sure. Once again, losing your virginity before marriage and having a child before marriage. If you guys love each other, you guys are going to get married. Sounds okay. There's nothing wrong. So as far as the right way, maybe the ideal way is marriage and a child, should come, the child should come after marriage. I understand that. But as far as right and wrong, some things can go on unplanned and just happen. It's a gift in disguise, perhaps, if you guys are in love. Okay, so I told my boyfriend and he was ecstatic. He has always wanted to become a father, and the news of my pregnancy made him very happy. Well, that's all that matters, doesn't it? Mutual happiness. Not much I can say right there. His family is very excited about the first grandchild. However, when I told my family about it, her Indian family back in India, they totally lost it. Here we go. As expected. They refused to meet my boyfriend or his family. They have told me that I have ruined their name and reputation. You know, I actually met an Indian person several years ago, and it didn't go good. He was about to pretty much X himself out of this life, take himself out with some poison because his marriage didn't go as planned, and he was married to an American woman, and she was highly abusive, and he got divorced. And he didn't want to return home because he knew that it was going to bring his family great shame. So this is the same thing, and I've personally dealt with somebody from India, really nice guy, who had this same situation, very similar situation. No children involved, but a divorce where, yes, he would ruin the family name and everything. So he was so afraid to go back to India that he was considered taking a life-threatening poison on purpose and just call it a life, right? It's really sad because that's abuse. That's parental abuse. It's not culture. You can't hide behind that curtain. I'm not Indian. I respect people's cultures, but that's just flat out abuse. Arranged marriages, you can recommend who your children should marry. But to arrange it, to force them, you can't force love. And then they always base it on, oh, well, he's good financially and she's good at being a housewife, a future housewife. No. You have to let everybody make up their own minds when it comes to the realm of love. So if anybody's offended out there, I'm not against Indian culture. I'm just saying times need to change. They need to mature. They need to respect their children. You brought them into this world to what? To suffer? To be forced to have to marry somebody that they're not in love with? I mean, bring the wisdom to the table. Recommend somebody to get married to, but don't force your children to get married in arranged marriages. And don't shame them. Don't tell them that they're going to be, a disgrace, as said right here. They told me that I was a disgrace. They told me that the only way they would forgive me, wow, is if I abort my child. That doesn't sound very religious to me. And I'm not going to have a whole debate over abortion. To each their own. Everybody has the freedom to decide in most places, I assume. But the main point is you don't tell your children to abort their own children. That's evil, in my humble, wise perspective. Once again, no offense to the Indian culture, but this traditional attitude is highly abusive. To arrange marriages, to tell your child, well, it's not an Indian child, even though the child's going to be half Indian, technically, logically. Well, that's not good enough. You should abort. You don't tell your children what to do with their own children. You can recommend how they should raise their children and recommend what they should do in order to prepare to be a great parent. But that's flat out abuse. I have to interject all of that because this is a horrible case. Already, parental abuse and the fear of having to return home as a quote-unquote disgrace and ruining the family name. That's unacceptable. That's unforgivable if they're not going to change. The parents are not intelligent and wise. Such parents, such traditional parents who can't let go of the old ways. The old ways were wrong. That era has been over for a long time, and all these countries need to catch up if they're still following this garbage. Because arranged marriages and telling your children to abort their own children is garbage. That's not culture, in my humble opinion. India has a beautiful culture as far as everything else is concerned. But this type of manipulative, controlling, and fear-instilling evil behavior is unacceptable. I don't call that culture. India is better than that. All right, let's go ahead and move on, shall we? Break up with my boyfriend and come back to India. So they're ordering her. You're a disgrace. You will abort that child. You will return back to India. How abusive is that? Is that a family that you would love? Where's the love? There's no love. That's not under the umbrella of love. Such controlling, narcissistic, abusive behavior. If I fail to do that, they have threatened to disown me. Wow. That's some loving parents right there if you tell me no. And that's what I mean by what I said prior. Let's go ahead and move on. Ever since I was met with that reaction, I have lost my sleep. I can't eat. I can't function. I have been crying for days. My boyfriend is heartbroken. Of course. I don't want to abort our child, and you shouldn't. We have already named him. But at the same time, I cannot bear the thought of losing my family. Well, you're going to have to change. You better grow up fast, young woman. You better grow up fast. Losing your family? What family? You call that over there a family back in India? Garbage is what they are. They disowned you already, mentally and emotionally. Not officially. But they've already gotten rid of you. They don't care. But that right there proves that they don't love you. And you know what? I had to go through something similar with my own family. I had to establish my own independence. Not because I wanted to, because I was going to anyways, but I was forced to do so far earlier than expected. Because they put their ultimatums, their abusive ultimatums. And I had to say, no, enough is enough. I'm not going to go through it anymore. And you have to do the same thing. You have to make that decision. Is your love and happiness more important than abusive parents who want to control and abuse you? It's time to appreciate everything that your parents have done, your family, but it's also time to end it, to estrange them possibly forever if they don't change their ways. And that's just the harsh reality. You can't have it both ways. You can't have an abortion and have your kid at the same time. You can't please your parents. You can't please your boyfriend at the same time. It's literally black and white. It's one or the other. Make up your mind. And I hope you decide, because we don't know. She says, I really need some perspective. I can't live this way. Of course you can't. How do I convince them? You don't. Like I said, it's over. It's just like a divorce. You need to divorce yourself from your family. They are no longer your family. They have clearly established that. I don't care if they're from India, the US, Saudi Arabia, it doesn't matter. Antarctica, for all I care. No human being should treat their own blood human beings that way. Your supposed family members. Your own children, for crying out loud. That's despicable. It's disgusting. It's unacceptable. It's unforgivable. And I'm not just saying that from my own experience. To this day, my family has estranged me and I have estranged them. There are certain things in this life that you should never forgive. And this case is one of them. Unless they change, which I highly doubt they ever will. Because once they're set in their ways, and they're capable of saying such nasty things like this, I don't care if they're from India or anywhere else in the world. Evil is evil. And that's what I coach people on. I say, you know what? It's black and white when it's black and white. You don't roll the die and see what kind of numbers come out of it, out of luck. Let something or someone make the decision for you. I'm advising you to cut off ties with your family permanently, unless they ever change, which I highly doubt they will. Almost all cases, these types of people, these evil, narcissistic, manipulative, abusive controllers will never change. You have to just rip them out of your heart and even your mind. And just remember the good times. Because that's being appreciative. That's being grateful. That's really understanding how life works. Because not all families are, when they say, oh, family's the most important thing, I highly disagree. Not everybody's family is a good family. And it's unfortunate because many people who have great families, because they're so gifted to have one, fortunate, they don't understand people in my case or this young woman in her case. They don't understand that there are such evil families out there that they don't deserve to be called families. You know, family is supposed to be all about love and understanding, passionate wisdom and intelligence. This is void of any sign of intelligence. Your parents telling you to come back home. You've disgraced the family name. You're a disgrace and you should kill your own child through abortion. A perfectly healthy child growing within you and you're happy. They don't care about your happiness. None of these evil, abusive parents will ever care about your happiness. Even when they pretend to change in order to get some of what they want. Because you gotta remember, abusive parents need you. A narcissist needs you to feed off of like a vampire. Just sucking all the life out of you. Your soul included. You don't need that. You want to be happy with your boyfriend? You want to be happy as husband and wife, as you guys are planning to do? You want a happy baby? A happy family of your own that's not abusive? You need to cut off your ties. This life that we all live in is for us to enjoy, not to suffer endlessly at the mercy of abusive, narcissistic parents who do not love you at all. This life all depends on you to make positive, wise, intelligent decisions. Decisions that will ultimately lead to your own happiness. And with the person you love, of course. I really hope so. For everybody living single out there, if you still believe that happiness can be achieved by living all alone with your routines, your lonely routines, you are dead wrong. And with this new year coming in, I really hope that you consider, if you're still single out there, befriending somebody of the opposite sex. Don't jump into it with dating. That's just a silly little game. But befriend somebody. Get to know somebody new. Right? Now, with this case, she's already set up. She's got a beautiful relationship. Her boyfriend loves her just as much as she loves him. She's pregnant. He's eager to become a father. She's eager to become a mother. But she's going to have to suffer the heartbreak. Because she's going to have to estrange her own family. Not because she wants to. And not out of respect or honor. Those two words don't belong with that family. On her part, yes. If she chooses to make the right decision. We don't know if she made the right decision. I would hope. One can only hope, because if she returns with that baby, what do you think they're going to do to her? Force her to abort, just like they're going to force her to get married to somebody that she doesn't love? And to suffer the worst heartbreak knowing that her boyfriend, soon-to-be husband, is back in the U.S. and can't do anything about it? What is he going to do? Go visit India with her? They'll probably kill him. Think about it. These are evil, traditionalist-minded psychos. They only want it their way or the highway. They want their daughter back so they can abuse her and finish her off in the worst way possible. That's not a family. And I'm going to have to leave it right there, because nothing more can be said except for the extraordinarily awful characteristics of this case as far as her family's concerned. So once again, India is a beautiful land, has lots of opportunity. It has its challenges as well, but whether it's China, Japan, or India, or Africa, or South America, it doesn't matter. Even in the US, there's still some quote-unquote traditional-minded people who haven't gotten with the modern times. We don't live in those days anymore, where we were forced to do this and that. This is the future. The future is now. Love is now. Love over abuse. Freedom. Now she has to focus on her freedom if she wants it that bad. I really hope she made the right decision. Because, unfortunately, it's tough for a lot of people to let go of their families. Their abusive, evil families. I did it in a heartbeat because I was forced to. And I hope she does the same. Because I chose happiness over misery and suffering. And feeling dead inside, soulless. Like my abusive family. I really hope she does the same. Because the walking dead are the walking dead. There's no more. The family you once knew is gone. It's long gone. It's never coming back. Maybe. But like I said, most likely, almost 100% with certainty, they're not coming back. Their souls have left their bodies. They're the walking dead. Young woman, I hope you made the decision to get married, and you're very happy with your maybe one child or more. I just wish happiness for her and her hopefully now husband. And with that said, this has been Coach Ben's Case by Case. Happy New Year, everybody.